Hi, Greg. I'm gonna make you a co-host right now, and then I'm gonna let everybody in, okay?
Okay, great. Thanks. And Tom should be there as well.
Did you need me to make Tom a co-host too, or
Oh,
is
yes,
that
please. Yeah, please make him a co-host because he needs to
okay?
flip through his slides.
Okay, and then Tom Maximus, right?
Yes.
All right, there he is. All right, so Tom should be a co-host now too.
All right. Hey, Tom.
All right, so are we ready to let everybody in?
Let's get a confirmation from Tom.
Yes, it's just my perfect timing. This is a great day. My video seems to not be working.
Ah,
Okay, and then did you need me to say anything? I'm not sure how you guys have done this in the past. Did you need me to introduce you
well,
guys? Is there
you
anything
can
you need
just,
me to do?
welcome them since you guys are hosting it, and
Okay, great.
we can get going. Tom needs to be able to share his slides. Are you able to do that, Tom?
Hmm.
Yeah, did you need us have something already ready for people to see once they come in? We have about 42 in the waiting room.
Are you guys able to see this? Is that
Yeah.
coming?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
click
Well, you
click
don't need
on
to.
slideshow from the beginning, and that'll be fine.
Okay, you don't need to see me anyway.
Okay, very good. Well, no, well, we should see you. We should.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and let everybody in, okay?
Yeah. Tom, click on slideshow and from beginning and from beginning up at the top.
Beginning. Okay. Yes. Okay. You start.
Yeah,
Hi,
there you go.
everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Everyone's kind of slowly coming in. Um, my name is Andy, and I'm the user experience librarian here at the Riverside County Law Library. And today we are so happy to have the Legal Aid Society of San Bernardino here to give us a quick presentation on student loan debt. If you have any questions or interested in hearing about our updated upcoming programs, you can always follow us on social media or subscribe to our newsletter. And I will go ahead and pass it off to them. And yeah, have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'll start off. My name's Greg Armstrong. I'm Deputy Director for Legal Aid Society of San Bernardino. We're located in San Bernardino, but we practice in both the counties of San Bernardino and in Riverside. Among the many things that we do, we receive funding to provide advice to clients in the Inland Empire about their student loan debt and how to resolve it, which is a big problem right now. There's a lot of changes happening all of the time. We represent low income folks and seniors over 60 in a variety of areas, including family law and housing, both eviction and home ownership, mortgage, and also in uh, just a variety of other areas. But tonight we're going to give a presentation regarding student loan debt, and hopefully this will be educational to you, and you'll be able to ask a lot of questions. Our lead attorney is Tom Maximus. He's having some trouble with the video on his feed, but he's got the presentation up and running, and so we're happy to have him. We've been doing this for a couple of years together, and he's just doing a great job. And we hope that you will find this presentation rewarding. So with that, Tom, I'll hand it off to you.
Thank you, Greg. Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to talk about, as Greg mentioned, student loans and how they affect borrowers today. So, how much does it cost to go to Harvard University? Now, there's a caveat, not attend, but go to Harvard University. One of my best friends loves to watch uh, lectures of elite universities online for fun, but he's not paying the tuition. Costs nothing to attend these schools. You can, as I mentioned, simply pull up the lectures online and learn from all the wisdom of these Harvard and Stanford and Yale professors. What you really do when you go to school what you should be doing, especially in today with the rise of AI and technology. Um, you want to be gaining skills. You want to be making yourself marketable for the global economy right now. So this is a scene from one of my favorite movies, Good Will Hunting. He explains to a pretentious Harvard graduate student that his knowledge is basically useless and that he could have got it for, $1.50 in late fees, which today with inflation would probably be worse. I'm showing my age a little bit, but the idea is that it's really about gaining skills. So why do we take out student loans? Why do we go through this, you know, massive debt or undertake these massive debts? It's for skills. And when did the need arise? It arose in 1944, right when GIs were coming back from World War II. President Roosevelt signed the GI Bill covering tuition for veterans. And then in 1958, Perkins loans were introduced, providing need-based government loans. 1993, it modernized a little bit more. And they were all up for basically the states up until July 1st, 2010. And that's when President Obama, excuse me, well, he was formerly a professor, but President Obama created the modern student loan system. And that's what we see today. And that's what we'll primarily be talking about today. And why is this such a problem? It's actually, I think it's gotten better, but this is just to show you that in 2021 and in today, there's roughly, 1.75 to $1.81 trillion in student loan debt. I like to say that it's a problem that doesn't directly affect billionaires, but it definitely could and does affect their millionaire employees. So you have to keep that in mind. This is something that affects the global economy. It affects even the richest of the rich in many ways, directly or indirectly. So this is something that affects everybody. And with the rise of AI and I believe soon to be robotics, it's very important when you take out these massive student loans that you think about what you're doing. To go to a trade school, it's 12 to 18 months of school. You're taking out $5,000 to $20,000 in debt. I averaged it out. The median's around $12,785. And, as a lawyer, Greg will tell you, we've been out to dinner and we've talked about our cases. It never ends. But as a trade person, you clock out, you clock in, you leave your work. As a professional, it never really ends. You're always working. As a tradesman, you can just clock out and you're done for the day. And that is wonderfully convenient. You don't have to go through years of school. And it still can be a wonderful and rewarding profession. Electrician can make $64,600 a year for about, again, 6 to 12 to 18 months of school, and you're only going to take out about $13,000 in debt. Same thing for a plumber. Lord knows we need air conditioning technicians right now with this weather, a welder. Any of these jobs will pay reasonably well, and you're only going to take out a marginal amount in student loan debt. Whereas when you take out, a more prestigious job, say lawyer, and this is $160,000 in student loan debt from law school is actually quite good. Now it's probably much higher. I need to update this. And your salary is going to be 135,000. That's working in the private sector. And I'll talk more about PSLF and its benefits later in this presentation. But your debt is going to be something to consider when you're a practicing attorney. It's going to be one of the primary financial factors in your practice. It takes 7+ years. And as I mentioned, when you're a lawyer with clients, you have a license, you're going to court and representing these clients, you're putting your license on the line, you're putting your livelihood on the line. So the work never really ends. You may say you work 8 to 5, but you're thinking about your cases, you're thinking about your clients. Same thing. If you're a PhD professor, you're always grading papers, you're always working, and you're taking out tons of debt to make about $65,000 a year to be a humanities professor. They work off of stipends, and yes, there's slightly less debt, but it's not as prestigious. There's a lot of depression that goes into these jobs because you're always working. You can't switch it off. You don't clock out. Same thing with starting a business. I mean, especially today with a, a myriad of useful AI tools, business school is just not as useful as it used to be. Um, a good businessman, in many people's opinion, is a good businessman. Business school is kind of obsolete, useless. It's about your skills in business. So taking out these debts is something to think about. If you're still interested in medicine, you can get, the average student loan debt is $15,000 to $40,000 a year. And many of these, medical trade people do save lives. They are very skilled at what they do. They are saving lives on a day-to-day basis, administering CPR or, you know, giving someone urgent dental care that could really change their life. A dental hygienist makes very good money, $86,000 a year, and is in debt about $15,000 to $3,000. A radiologic technologist or an X-ray tech makes about 70,400, and it's the same, about $15,000 to $40,000 in debt. The different schools, I found it to be 23,011 is the median number for all of these schools. And the salaries can vary, but they're right around 80,000. And again, the doctor is the main one responsible, whereas you're simply assisting them or a part of a team and not leading them. So you clock out. You're not as responsible as the doctor leading or the dentist leading. You know, um, you're much less likely to be sued or held responsible for anything that goes wrong at work. And that's, you know, one of the benefits of going to dental hygienist school or radio or x-ray tech school or sonographer school. It's less responsibility for a comparable salary and quality of life. um, Prestigious medical jobs, doctors, yes, they make very good money, but they're in $250,000 in student loan debt. And, they don't really begin making money till after they finish a residency. It can take 12 years of training before they make any money, and they don't pay off their student loan debt till they're well into their 40s. Um, a veterinarian, same thing. The highest student loan debt, or one of the highest, it's 183,000 for a $110,000 salary. And, that's a big responsibility. Pets are part of people's families and they affect families for years. And it's a huge responsibility to bear. Dentists, people's smile can be their livelihood. $160,000 salary and you're in $290,000 in debt. Again, that's debt you're not going to pay off until you're, an older person in your 40s, maybe even your 50s. It can take several years. And there are programs available, but it relegates you to a life of public service, which can be rewarding, but also limiting. You have to keep that in mind before you take on the responsibility of going to school. So let's say you've decided where you want to go, what you want to do. You've gotten your college acceptance letter. You're going to do what's called applying for a FAFSA, um, federal student. It's probably an acronym that I just don't know off the top of my head, but you go on the website, studentaid.gov, and you simply um, log in. This will give you your My Student Text data file. It's like an X-ray. This is something that I get clients to send to us on a daily basis. You go to studentaid.gov, and if you've already gone to college, like most people have, you know, I would say, I don't know the statistics. I'll have to look this up, but more often than not, people will have an account on this website and they will log on and find their text file and send it to me. And we will go through it and try to resolve their student loan debt. It's an arduous process. It takes a while. It's more transactional law than litigation, as my colleague Greg has, astutely observed. But once you do this, you log on, you can use the loan servicer. There's many services available. This is made by the same government agency, or rather the same umbrella as, the IRS or a similar to Treasury. It's designed for broad use and it's easy to navigate to simply log in. Loan repayment, loan forgiveness. It's incredibly accessible for everybody. You can, whether you're an English or a Spanish speaker, you simply can log on. And this is a lot of people's dream. It will show you your balance. Um, some of us have much worse balances than this, um, but you will simply go and download your TXT file and we will go through it. And as I said, that's your X-ray. There's also loan repayment strategies. Um, simulations you can run, and there are loan repayment strategies. Unfortunately, it's under some changes right now. Um, I will get into this later, but there used to be a far more economically friendly, class-friendly system called the SAVE plan. Um, it's currently under some scrutiny and it's almost certainly canceled, and they're working on a settlement. I'll get into that later in the presentation. But from now, we'll talk about private student loans, and uh, these are given by banks and they have variable interest rates. You really often need a cosigner, and keep in mind they will sue you. I've defended several of these lawsuits from borrowers, um, two or three missed payments, any default, and they will pursue judgment. It happens quite often. You have to be very careful when you're taking out a private student loan. I always say go for the federal student loan. You know, the federal government is um, a little bit more adversarial than usual these past few years, but I still haven't seen lawsuits. Whereas with a private student loan, we see them every day. So, as I said, you know, with a federal student loan, your payments aren't going to be due until 6 to 9 months after graduation. While you're in school, especially undergrad, they're going to subsidize. And what that means is the government pays the interest on your loan while you're in school. And the interest rate is usually for a federal student loan, I believe it's between 5.5 and 7.5%. Uh, with a private student loan, it can vary. It can go as I've seen as high as 28%. You usually need a cosigner. If you take out a private student loan, they can take out the interest immediately, or rather, they can force you to make payments immediately. So you need to check your bill. The best thing about the website and why I went through it is studentaid.gov will have every federal student loan you've ever taken out. It'll be on that dashboard. It'll say either zero or 100,000, 200,000, whatever your balance is, it's going to say that. So you can also check your credit report. Creditkarma.com is a great resource. Oh, we jumped ahead a few slides. Okay. Um, this is very important. Federal Parent Plus loans. These help parents pay for their child's college. It could have been for up to the full amount. If anybody has a Parent Plus loan, you have precious little time. On July 1st, 2026, these will be done away with. You cannot, rather, you can consolidate and make them into a general loan where they qualify for 20-year forgiveness or PSLF. But after July 1st, 2026, you can't consolidate them. They can't be brought in the mainstream. The parent will always be responsible, and the interest rate is, not as friendly, and the parent is held financially responsible. The student is never responsible. So it's a big risk. Parents are taking a chunk out of their finances to help their children, and they can be kind of mitigated, but not after July 1st, 2026. You're going to be on the hook if you take out a loan for your child. So just keep that in mind. So as I mentioned, kind of jumping ahead here, but a subsidized loan means while you're in school, the government's paying the interest on your loan. An unsubsidized federal loan is for graduate students usually, and it's at a 7.5% interest rate. And interest does accrue. The government doesn't pay off your interest while you're in school. It's usually for more graduate students, but either way, the federal government is far less likely to sue you. It is far more favorable to take out a federal student loan debt than a private student loan debt. If there's one thing I've learned these past 2 years, it is you are much better off taking out a federal student loan than a private one. Uh, and the federal Perkins program, it goes towards identifying your loan. What kind of loan is it? It's a low interest federal student loans. A lot of people here work for the county. And you may have taken out a Perkins loan. You're about my age, you're in your 40s. You went to school maybe 15 years ago and you took out a Perkins loan, and you'll find it in there. And they were canceled. They were given to students with exceptional financial need. They were subsidized. Unfortunately, the government just ran out of funds in 2018. They can be consolidated. It does come up in practice. So Consolidation is the system the federal government used to combine all of your loans into one with a new interest rate. They just average everything out. If you went to undergrad on a 5.5 and graduate school on a 6.5% interest rate, they will literally just average you out to 6% and combine your loans, and that's what you pay month to month. Um, you're allowed one bite at the apple, so to speak. Every borrower gets to consolidate their federal loan once, and I believe only once. So I tell borrowers to be very careful about that. Because a lot of people want to go back to school, they want to take out more loans. It takes a lot to finish school. Some people need a break. I know I did, so I understand. But private loans, you can, with a cosigner negotiate, but again, these people will sue you. It is very common. If you miss a payment, if you miss a single student loan payment, it puts you in delinquency. If you miss 9 months or yeah, 9 months or 270 days worth of payments, you go into default. You have to create a plan. One thing about the Department of Education is they are excellent. They do have an on-ramp program. I regularly will go on the line with clients as advisory counsel to kind of help them talk to the student aid people. Um, that was something I did on the day to day. Unfortunately, we may not have that service available, but we'll talk about that later. Like I said, if you miss 270 days or 9 months, your loans will be due immediately. You'll be sued. What they have been doing is the federal government has been garnishing taxes. So a lot of borrowers have seen that. Um, your taxes have been withheld if you didn't pay your student loans, if you simply left them in default. Uh, it can affect your credit score if you're in default or you haven't made payments in 270 days. It can affect your employment. It can affect federal licensing. And a lot of people, as I mentioned, want to go back to school and they simply lose that ability because they're default on their old student loan. They can't take out another. You have to be in good standing to take out more student loans. Don't ignore if you are in default, there's an on-ramp program. I should update this, but screenshot, call your servicer. They are really reasonable. I've seen them give $10 rehabilitation, which allows you to make, 6 months of payments or 9 months to 3 months of payments for a nominal amount of maybe $10. And now you're current with your student loans again. So it's always better, especially when you're dealing with the federal government, to call them. Take screenshots of everything you can, document and confirm, and call the servicer, inquire about the current balance. And as I mentioned, the federal government, to their credit, has been mostly reasonable with this. And this is my favorite slide: public service loan forgiveness. It only works if you've made 120 on-time payments while working for a qualifying employer. People often ask, can I buy back my payments? The short answer is yes. But you have to have those 120 months of service after you took out your loans. I get a lot of borrowers who say, hey, I was in the military and then I went to college, or, I worked for the police. No, it has to be after, usually after 2010. And the main thing is, after you took out your student loans, you got a job with that degree, usually, not always, but after you took out your student loans. It must be direct loans. Perkins loans and Fed loans are not eligible for PSLF, but you can consolidate and you can do PSLF buyback. It just means the government is going to be, delaying your application. But the main key is to have 120 months of qualifying service. Another program which I believe needs to be updated, but still can be profitable if you're smart and you plan ahead, is the Teachers Loan Forgiveness Program. Forgives about 17,500 for 5 years of service. Direct, subsidized, and unsubsidized loans, and subsidized and unsubsidized federal Stafford loans qualify. And, if you make your payments, say you had a $40,000 balance and you make your payments for 5 years, you can theoretically, as a teacher, get rid of your student loan debt but with today's inflation, I do believe this should be updated and modernized. This is everyone's favorite slide. It's the PSLF buyback program. It has not been canceled by the Trump administration, thankfully. You need those 120 months of qualifying service. And once you've reached that, you can contact your servicer. They will give you a buyback amount, usually about, it's prorated. So they go through your tax returns and they calculate what you should have been paying at the time, and you're able to go back in time. That's why I didn't want to throw in too many old movie references. But Back to the Future, I'm just using the text, but you're essentially finding out what your payment would have been, and you're making it, and you're getting your qualifying service out of the way. You're filling in the gaps on whatever you didn't pay. And these are delayed right now. I spent a lot of time researching it. I have a few clients who are in, but you can always put your loan in forbearance and wait for the federal government to process it. They're dealing with quite a lot right now, and they are behind. I'm researching it every day, and the service is available. I don't see any indication it's going to be canceled, but with the world in the state that it is, I don't rule out the possibility. We just keep our fingers crossed and hope for the best, because this is a new and developing area of law. And just like with the SAVE program, the government usually has to give some kind of benefit. And the Trump administration's defense is that we're offering, all these PSLF and buyback programs and forgiveness. Why should we continue to give benefits? So another way to get rid of your student loan debt is the borrower defense to repayment. Applies. I have it in bracket format. I kind of try to get creative, sports theme. It applies when a school deceives or misleads a student. I've had clients get letters saying that you need to go to school to become a great businessman. It's just simply not true. Um, they make misleading salary claims. They talk about um, basically a school that lies to get recruitments. It's typically for-profit diploma mill schools. They make misleading salary claims, and the education just winds up being short. And you need some evidence of deception, but it can result in a loan being forgiven. Excuse me. Again, these are delayed because of the complications in the government. Current administration has not canceled this benefit, but it's taking months or years to process. However, total permanent disability discharge. Um, this is just an AI generated person who's injured and graduating. Um, it eliminates all student loans. Anybody who has a serious disability, a lot of veterans we see, someone who's permanently on SSI benefits. You need a doctor to write you a letter, and it has to be clear and concise, and it has to be definitive. And sometimes they require you to update it. But the federal government, for the most part, is doing a good job of processing these. It is not like the borrower forgiveness. It's rather more, it's processing a lot faster. It has to be properly documented, and they do monitor people. But if you're basically on disability for, SSI, you can't work, and it's permanent, and it's going to be permanent, and you can prove you're not going to work with a doctor's note, you can get your student loans discharged. It is possible. So, as I mentioned, the SAVE plan, it was a federal plan that it limited payments, and it gave borrowers um, temporary forbearance, gave them PSLF credit. Um, there's still ongoing developments. The Fifth Amendment does apply. The federal government can't just give you a benefit and then take it. But the courts are reasoning through a settlement. There's going to be some form of universal income-based repayment at $5 to $10. They may give a stipend, but the Trump administration's reasoning is that they're giving, income-driven repayment, public service loan forgiveness, and PSLF buyback. So why should they continue to give the SAVE plan benefit? It's been canceled, and there is ongoing deliberation amongst the courts on how this will end. And I researched it quite a bit, but I don't feel comfortable just making a, if I don't have a crystal ball to see what judges will do and what systems they'll implement. The closest I can gather is that they are going to give a $5 to $10 nominal payment to allow borrowers to kind of on-ramp back on or manage it, but it won't be the same SAVE plan that automatically gave all these benefits. Next is a more common question is bankruptcy, another benefit that was potentially canceled through the HEROES Act of 2003. President Biden planned on allowing borrowers to potentially apply for bankruptcy. Now, all that's left is the Brunner test and the totality of the circumstances test. The Brunner test is from 1987. It's a New York case, Brunner v. New York. It basically said that when a borrower has no minimal standard of living, their current and income and expenses prevent them from maintaining a minimal standard of life. So they can't buy food because they're paying back their student loans. They're doing everything. I believe the plaintiff in this case was doing everything they could, and it was literally preventing them from, food and heating and affecting their quality of life. And it was a persistent difficulty because no matter how much they made or worked, they were never going to be able to pay off this, enormous amount of money. And so they were forced to kind of cut back from their quality of life, food, heating, necessities. And so this persistent difficulty with continued good faith efforts led to the court to discharge their student loan debt in a bankruptcy. It is very rare that this will be granted. And it's more likely that if a borrower does file for bankruptcy, they will just simply ignore the student loan debt, maintain it on your credit report, and discharge everything else. And then there's the totality of the circumstances test, which is almost identical to the Brunner test. It just takes into other relevant, there's a catch-all, so to speak, as we like to say in the legal community. Financial resources, the debtor's past, present, and reasonably foreseeable future financial resources, living expenses, and other relevant circumstances. So maybe you have family bills, medical bills, etc. The court can kind of take those into consideration, but this test is in very few jurisdictions and not widely used. So I don't want to say it's impossible to file for bankruptcy with student loans, but it's very unlikely. Our phone number is 909-889-7328. We have a wonderful staff. We do have an email. You can just access our website or Google us, Legal Aid Society of San Bernardino. Unfortunately, it looks like the student loan program is coming to an end, but for the next few weeks, we might be able to give you some information. But hopefully, while I'm here today, I can get at least point some people in the right direction. If there's any questions about student loans, feel free to ask. Greg is also a much more experienced attorney than me, so I'm sure he can answer some questions too if there's something I don't know, which is likely.
All right, so questions.
Hi there. Thank you so much for putting this conference together. I really do appreciate it. I just wanted to ask, you said that there's something in process right now for application-wise for student loan forgiveness. I'm a registered nurse, and I was wondering if that's open to registered nurses, because I did see something in an email, but it seemed more like for primary care providers.
So who is your employer? If you work for the city, the government, I should have been more clear. Any nonprofit hospital, any government county hospital will qualify. And you
Yes,
just tell. Mhm.
I'm a registered nurse for the county.
Yes, you're going to qualify, right?
Yes, absolutely. You need 120 months of service. And once you have that, you simply just get your old employers and your current employers to verify your employer. There's a form. I can send it to you. Just give us a call. It's actually a really quick. You can even Google just PSLF form and then bring it. I'll try to drop it in the chat and then just bring it into your employer. They'll fill it out and you are on your way to getting documents. And if you're short, if you miss some months, you can do PSLF buyback. So it's a very, very easy process.
And to clarify, you can apply even if you haven't done 120 months of service. But the 120 is the requirement for you to get the loan forgiveness.
I also, one more question. There's a lot of us that were on the SAVE program, and now when I go onto the FAFSA website, it says that I'm in deferment, even though I didn't request to be on it. It's just, what's going on right now. How does that affect me, the fact that I